Hello guys, hello, welcome to the stream. Apologies for the late start. I've literally just finished recording another video, and when I do that I usually end up taking the studio apart, messing around with cameras, cables and all this business, and then I have to put it all back together. And I think I underestimated how long it would take today, and yeah, I've probably forgotten something, so hopefully the audio's working. Hopefully you can see me in the screen. And yeah, I've tried to make sure all the tech stuff is covered. Whew! We've got some good designs to go through today. This is going to be fun. So thank you to everyone who has submitted. I've got tons of submissions now. Plenty for the next few weeks for sure. And they're fantastic. They're really, really good. Hello, Sema, Quinton. Hello. Jimmy, welcome. Hey Dan, I'm good. I hope you are. I can't speak. By the way, I've had like 5 hours sleep today, so I am flagging. I've had like 3 coffees already. Hey Dan, I hope you're good, buddy. Sorry I haven't been able to join a lot lately. A lot of work and quite complicated ones, but I'm looking forward to having more time to be there. Hey, no worries, man. No worries. Life is busy. Life gets in the way of all sorts of things. It's just the way it is. Looking forward to seeing the great work of Martha's chat. Hello, Alok. Abdul, hello. Reese, welcome. I think I saw Nigel the monkey in the thumbnail. I think you might have done. Nigel, I like it. Very good. I'm Kareem from Bangladesh. Welcome, Kareem from Bangladesh. Oh, goodness. I've got a can right next to the keyboard here. And what's the bet that I knock this over before the end of the stream and completely ruin a good keyboard? I've done it before. Knocked a can of Coke straight into a MacBook keyboard. And that was the end of that. Sticky keys, and then it just shut down. So yeah, still haven't learned my lesson though. Anyway, right, let's get moving. Designs. Where are we? What are we doing? Okay, let's open up this one in Photoshop. I love this. When I first saw this, I was like, ooh, hello. Okay. Burger. Right. Am I being a bit dim? What's the difference? We've got one on the top, and then we've kind of got like a separation on the bottom. No gritty grunge effects and cinders, and then on the right-hand side. So this is kind of a bit more flat, I think, and this is with all the, looks to be with all the lighting and the VFX and stuff. Bit more kind of smoke, shadows. So I'm not sure. Maybe that one's a bit of a showcase. But this is the one I'm going to focus on. I'm going to assume that this is the final doodah. In fact, let's just crop it. Designed by BIM Graphics. Well, thank you, BIM Graphics, for sending this one in. Okay, first impressions. It really grabbed my eye, as I'm sure most of you will agree this does look like a quite appetizing burger, unless you're a vegan or a vegetarian, and then it probably looks revolting actually. But to me, as a meat eater and a burger lover, this does look quite delicious. So good image. That's my point there. Good image. That's always a good start. Burger looks so good, says the Archaic Way. Yeah, so good product shot. Clearly professionally done. Nice lighting. Well, I mean, unless it's been generated with something like Midjourney, you don't really know these days, do you? But it looks like a photograph, so I'm going to run with that. And we've got the lighting coming from the left, and then this part down here is kind of more in shadow. I feel like they've kind of, this person has done some work on this to make the light come from the left. It doesn't look like that's the kind of natural shadowing from a photo, if that makes sense. It looks like they've played around with levels or exposure to intentionally darken that right-hand side. So I think I might be wrong, but the only thing I would say with this, when you're doing photo manipulation stuff or product retouching, is if you just kind of add an exposure adjustment layer. Nope, that's not an exposure adjustment layer, Dan. And you kind of go, yeah, let's make it darker. Let's just quickly select that subject. Can I select the burger? Oh, look at that. Photoshop, you beauty. Excellent. Oh, look how easy that was. Yeah, so sometimes it's very easy to just go, oh, there we go, the dark and the shadow, there we go. Now, I'm not saying that's what this person's done here, but it kind of feels like it a little bit. Like I say, I might be wrong. Yeah, that should only be affecting the burger. Yeah, I don't know. God, it's hard to tell what I've got selected sometimes. Let's just... There we go, let's just do that. There we go, that's what I want. I wonder why the background was changing then. Okay, right. So yeah, so this is good. This can work. It's great for kind of just getting an idea if something looks right. What I would suggest is to kind of go into it in a bit more detail when you're happy and you want to kind of pursue this direction. So a couple of things just to be aware of. Don't just drag the exposure down like this because it will look kind of a bit grey and dull. You want to play around with the gamma correction as well. This will kind of help retain some of that saturation in there. And usually, as you can see here, like I'm not really bringing down the exposure much, but playing around with the gamma actually kind of keeps that sort of, I don't know, bun color, like orangey browny color, whatever it is, that tan color of the bun. And it can help keep a bit more saturation without it looking a bit kind of dull. So these two sliders, yeah, it's usually worth playing around with these. But what you can also do as well is rather than just kind of blanket brushing in the entire side, is look at the shadows that are already in the graphic and then enhance those shadows. And if the lighting isn't coming from the direction you want, you're going to have a tougher time. But let me show you what I mean by that. You know, what I would do is I would go through and I would specifically kind of enhance the shadows around here, under the cheese. Like I'm going in on a very kind of piece by piece level. And I'm doing this obviously very quickly. So you've got the tomato here. So that lettuce would be a bit more in shadow. And if you've ever watched any of Benny's videos, you know, he spends quite a lot of time doing shadows and shading and lighting, and it really does make a difference. So even here, going around all the lettuce leaves and adding the shadowing individually rather than just kind of a blanket shadow, you're going to get a much more realistic result if you are trying to simulate or alter the lighting or the shadows. Anyway, that was a quick sidestep there about exposure. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just messing around here, but you can see the difference already just by kind of going in there and actually intentionally adding a few shadows, especially around kind of here. And the same for highlights. You do that for highlights as well, and you can, it can make a massive difference to your work. Right, in terms of the font, I love it. This feels like I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know what this font is, but it feels like a burger font. Does that make sense? It feels like, I don't know. Maybe I've seen it somewhere or it's just grabbing my eye, but it's like this really sort of stretched out font. And I kind of love it. In fact, if I had to guess, I'd say this isn't a font. I'd say it's something like Bebas Nui or Nui. I can't remember how you pronounce it. And definitely Bebas. And I feel like they've stretched the bottom, but they've stretched it correctly. They haven't distorted it. They just pulled all those points down. And it looks damn good. I like it. Burger. And even with part of it covered, you know, you can clearly read that it is burger. Or at least I can anyway. So I like that. They've added some grit. Oh, I love a bit of grit. Very nice. We've got some smoky waves coming off of the burger, which makes it look all the more appetizing. And we've got red and yellow, very food-centric colors that can kind of trigger that part of the brain, apparently, that can make you hungry. So that's why you'd see a lot of red and yellow in food advertising, is because it, you know, there's certain colors like blue, for example, which doesn't really kind of initiate that that hunger in human beings. Apparently. Well, there is a Greek restaurant in Bristol. There's a Greek restaurant, and every time I walk past it, I just think to myself, I have no desire to go in there. And I love food, and there's food places everywhere around that. But out of everything, I just have no inclination to go there. their color palette, blue and white. So I don't know, that's just me. Anyway, we've got a very nice corner peel here. I like this. You can achieve this effect in Photoshop. You kind of just sort of draw the corner. I say just, it makes it sound really simple. You kind of draw this peel shape. And then what you do is, come on, let's get the colors out. Let's get the markers out and scribble this bad boy up. So you can see here they've added a shadow. So what you do is you'd add a gradient going this way to that way. You'd have white up here. And then you'd have a very dark color at this point here. And then all you do is just underneath this triangle, you just add you airbrush in a bit of, why am I doing a squiggle like that? There we go, let's circle it instead. You just airbrush in a little bit of shadow. You can see we've got some shadow along here as well. Careful, Dan, what you draw in there. Demonetized. So we've got that kind of big shadow there. And then we've got a subtle drop shadow around here. And then on the other side, we've got a shadow as well. So you can see actually, if once you've drawn the peel shape, the kind of white curved triangle, all it is to get that realism is adding shadows on this side, brushing in shadows that side, brushing in shadows here, and then a little bit of drop shadow just to kind of lift it off the edge. Kind of sort of what you'd get in real life, to be honest. Right, anyway, that's enough of that very questionable annotation there. Hot and special. Yep, not going to agree with that. Personally, I'd bring those lines a little bit closer together. You know, these kind of, when you're trying to kind of fit text into a corner, it's not always ideal. Sometimes it works better than others. Trust me, though, sometimes you get given a bunch of words and it's like, oh, yeah, you could just squeeze that in the corner. It's like, no, actually, I can't. But you have to do your best. So, yeah, I would bring them closer together because when you're this tight for space, every little bit of space that you can create just enables you to make that text bigger if you need it to. So I would just close up the gaps between the letters. Personally, I would close up the gap in the line. And even if you could get another 10% in size out of that, it's, you know, it's just that little bit bigger. But of course, obviously, you don't want to go to the edge. You don't want to go too close to the edge because then you're going to make everything feel a bit kind of tight and crammed and horrid. Right. Yeah, the cinders, they're kind of cool. I feel like the implementation is using a blending mode. Probably not the best. I think I've seen more realistic cinders. I would probably go with a brush. Personally, this looks like a blend job. That's where you get those kind of weird orange glows. I would personally use a brush. In fact, I've got a tutorial, a fire tutorial, that shows you how to create realistic fire, and the same thing can be used for cinders. So you stamp in a solid yellow brush of fire and it looks rubbish in one color, but then you double it up with a few blending modes and it will make it look realistic. It's a really good video. I think the thumbnail is like fire. It's just the word fire. Definitely check it out if you want to learn how to create realistic cinders and fire using brushes, because it's a really, really cool trick. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the cinders, should they be coming off the burger? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit nitpicky. But, yeah, I think it's because it feels like a kind of, it feels like a sort of like they're simulating a real scene. You've got the burger. You've got the shadow protruding out to the right. You've got this up here, which I don't know what this is meant to be, a light or a softbox or something. Feels a bit odd, if I'm honest, but if it's up there, then the shadow shouldn't be directly to the right. It should be kind of like this, which then changes the lighting. So deliberately introducing a light source up there, I don't know, it sort of breaks the illusion. Whereas you could actually just get rid of that and then have your light coming from that direction. But by showing the light source, you then have to be consistent with that sort of logic. So it feels like with the background and the shadow, you're sort of setting up a real scene, but then these cinders are kind of coming out the floor. So I don't know. I'm not sure there. Anyway, what do you guys think to this one? Quentin says, nice start. This looks awesome. I think I recognize that font. I It's got to be Bebas. Reese says I could go for a burger now. Yeah. Let's take the stream mobile. It's just a rock up at like a Burger King or something. There is no sesame in your bread, my friend. Oh yeah, where are the seeds? We've got to Photoshop the seeds on top. Maybe throw an egg on top. Guys, you're making me hungry now. Come on. This wasn't the best one to start with, was it? Especially the cheese area should have some rim light instead of darkening the whole. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying before. It's really about adding the lighting on a sort of more granular level. Yeah, it takes a lot longer. So just be sure that you want to go that route and you're happy with your light source before committing the time to that. But heads up, Dan, OBS doesn't show the adjustment layers when you just select the Photoshop window. Oh. It doesn't show the adjustment layers. Oh, really? Okay. Thank you for the heads up. Yeah, that's probably a setting I've got somewhere. Has it always been like that, or is it just today? Have I broken something? It's entirely possible. On closer inspection, the font looks stretched. Ooh, okay. Does it? Don't know. Yeah, because there would be some. I think that. I think there would be a natural curvature to the font, but I feel like it probably cuts off around there, and then it's got more curvature. I don't know, or maybe they just stretched the bottom part and the middle part independently. Because surely, if they stretched the entire thing, I would imagine that you see this curve at the bottom. It would start up here and it would just go down. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I see what you mean. I think this is probably one of those instances where they get away with it. I wouldn't have even noticed that looking at it from this sort of view. Also, I've just noticed the drop shadow on the text, which again, it looks cool just to look at. And most people probably wouldn't notice on a conscious level, but it doesn't make sense because there's a light source up here. So currently, we've got a light source shining down this way. We've got one coming from the left, which is casting this shadow here. And then we've also got another one kind of coming from, I don't know how to even annotate this really. Kind of coming in here to cast the shadow on the text behind. And most of it is, you get away with a lot of it. You really would. In the real world, most people wouldn't notice. However, I think if you want to take your work to like another level, I think being consistent with your lighting and these kind of techniques, especially if you are simulating like a photo shoot, you know, this is clearly not, it's not been a photo shoot, but you're trying to simulate that in Photoshop. You've got to be consistent with your lighting in terms of where it's coming from and then where that is casting shadows. And I think in this example, I would probably get rid of that up there. Just decide that the lighting's coming from, you know, the left or something. Have a bit of shadow there. You get a nice bit of shadow there. And I've basically completely ruined this now. So, yeah. And then having it coming from that direction kind of creates some nice dramatic lighting as well. So you can kind of work in some nice intricate shadows there. A few highlights on the left. I think it would look nice. But yeah, in terms of colors as well, very, very striking and very nice. Of course, you wouldn't have designed by BIM graphics on there, but you know, watermarking it for review, that's totally fine. I feel like it's supposed to be pronounced stretched out burger, if that makes sense. Maybe. I don't even mind the page curl. No, I quite like the page curl. It's pretty well done, I think, as well. Yeah, you could probably do a bit more work on the shadows maybe here, but you know, it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Letters melted across the burger is cool. Are the letters melted? I don't think they're melted unless I'm missing something. Also the shadow here, the shadow, yeah. So this part of the shadow here, I mean, there shouldn't be, if the light, depending on where the light's coming from, if it is coming from this direction here, there shouldn't be any shadowing there. This shadow, it's perfectly flat on the surface, so this shadow should be really hard and tight to the bottom of the burger. This is way too feathered for a shadow. The bottom edge of the bun needs a lot more darkening, especially around here where there's no light. And then this part of the shadow here, see that? Careful, Dan. Oh, I'm a child. This part of the shadow here, what you should do here, right, is you should start with your shadow darker on this end. There we go. That's a D for darker. And then it should be lighter and softer on this end as well. So it gradually, as you go from left to right, it's getting lighter, but it's also becoming more blurred, more feathered around the edge as it moves away from the product. That's how kind of a real shadow would behave. And here it's kind of, to me it looks like a Gaussian blur. The blur is consistent and the darkness of the shadow is consistent as well, and that doesn't reflect a real shadow, if that makes sense. Also, there's a cinder underneath, which again doesn't make sense. But I'm picking at stuff on a really, really granular level. Like I've done this stuff for years. I like obsess over these kinds of details. So, you know, I'm just picking on all these little minor things, but actually as a piece of design work, this is excellent. It's really, really good. And I like I'd say good sort of 80-90% of it. It's just those little kind of details, that last sort of 10-20%. I think you just tighten that up a little bit, and it's like any design, isn't it? You can always make something better. Right, cool. Hopefully that was helpful. Oh, the ones at the bottom is before and after as the title goes. Oh, right. Before and after. Right. The clue is in the title. Well spotted, Alok. Tome, welcome. Guy, however, we're not in the real world. We're in Dan's world. Yeah, come into Dan's world. It's great. Everyone's always happy, and there's rainbows and marshmallows. It's a fantastic place. I just was thinking the same thing. Mark, welcome. Mark is the Pathfinder hero from the previous stream. Okay, right, let's move on. My goodness, that took like 20-30 minutes for one design. Right, I'm gonna try and ramp it up a little bit. We got a lot to get through. Okay, t-shirt. This is really cool. Woohoo indeed. Okay, a couple of t-shirt mock-ups. So we've got a front one, and then we've got it kind of flat here. Time to bloom again. I mean, this is more illustrative, so illustrators, you might spot a few more things that are right or wrong with this. I mean, to look at, I think it looks great. And this is a great example of why it's a good thing to mock designs up like this, because if I'm honest, if I were looking at this completely flat without the kind of mock-up on an actual piece of clothing, I would have some opinions, and I'd probably pick on lots of things, like, oh, the flower details here and the curves aren't quite right, blah, blah, blah. But actually, when you see it mocked up, it just gives you a much more true-to-life visual for how it would actually be seen in the real world. You know, nobody's ever going to just see this as a flat JPEG most of the time. You know, it's always going to be on something, whether it's a kind of an advert or someone actually wearing it. And Colors, love it. Green, nice black and white. Yeah, it looks really good actually. I'd love to see it on a black t-shirt. I'm not really a white t-shirt kind of guy. You may have noticed I like me a good old black t-shirt. Obviously the black here would then disappear. Maybe a grey t-shirt. That'd be nice. But yeah, and a good demonstration of contrast. You know, there is plenty of contrast, not just in the design, but how they've mocked this up with that darker background as well. And even the background isn't just like a straight grey. It's got like a hint of green in it. I don't know if I can kind of... Yeah, greeny yellow. So if I pick this with the color picker, you can see there, it's not just boom over here on the left. It's kind of hovering around this sort of yellowy, greeny area. So it's kind of like a greeny grey rather than a bluey grey. It's just a really nice, a nice design, but a really good example of contrast as well, because that t-shirt is just popping. And if that background was white, you know it wouldn't have the same pop outness. I can't speak, words are difficult. But yeah, really cool. Like I say, more illustrative, so I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it because I honestly am not an illustrator. But it looks fantastic. Quentin says it seems like there's a big empty space top right. Empty space top right. Yeah, I'm not really feeling the empty space. I mean, one thing that does stand out, I would say the lines, the time to, and the word again. Maybe it's a personal thing. I would compact them a little bit closer. Personally, I'm not noticing the space too much top right, because let's get a nice contrasting color. We'll go with red. Sometimes you can left align things, sometimes you can centrally align them, but you can also, sticking this up so you can actually see what I'm doing. You know, another way you can do this, I don't think it's always as straightforward as just left and right. You know, sometimes it's actually about balance overall. And so you can kind of see, got illustration there. And that's probably what you're seeing is there's not as much illustration in this spot in the right. There's probably more down in the left. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe you could shift maybe a bit less there and a bit more there. That might balance it. I think I think that's probably being a little bit nitpicky. But then hey, we're all human. It's a personal thing. Maybe you're seeing a bit more empty space there, and I'm just not. Yeah, no, I can kind of appreciate that actually. I wouldn't have picked up on it, but yeah, I think you could probably just lose maybe that little bit of illustration there. Let's just get rid of that. And I think maybe it would just balance a little bit better. But yeah, in terms of the sort of the typography, that feels balanced to me because you've got the left, the central, and the right. And, I sometimes do this when I've got multiple words as well. Sometimes it just... and it's a good way to try and interlock words together, especially if you've got a font like this. And you've got uppercase and lowercase letters. And if you're lucky, you can kind of get your words to sort of interlock with each other or interlink. And it can look pretty cool. But, of course, it depends on the words and the fonts. Keenan says, some of the floral effects should sit on top. Other types to interweave more. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Where's my mouse gone? Yeah, so all the floral kind of design is all behind everything. Whereas actually, yeah, what you could do is you could bring some of this, like here, this swoosh. Maybe there's a way that could come in front. I mean, it's difficult because it's black and the drop shadow is black as well. So I'm not sure how that worked with the drop shadow. But yeah, I see what you mean. Bring some of it in front just so it kind of feels like... well, it gives the design more depth as well. Which is, funnily enough, what the video I was recording before this stream is about. Adding depth to your designs. And I think you're going to like it. I'm not sure when it'll be done. I'd like to say this week, but it might not be. It might be next week. But it's, yeah, it's all about how to add more different techniques you can use to add depth to your design. And this is one such technique. Even if it's just a case of just this curve here, just nipping in front of the T. But yeah. That green leaf between time and should have been black. I read that totally wrong. Let's try that again. That green leaf between time and to should have been black. Time and to. I'm being an idiot. I understand what you mean, Alok. I'm just 5 hours sleep, guys. Come on. Yeah, this bit here. Good spot. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be black, I guess, to connect. Or would that even be there? Maybe not at all. Yeah, it does feel a bit weird, actually. Yeah. I do like this texture. It's subtle, but there's a little bit of texture on the letters. I do like that. And we've got this kind of textured effect here as well, which probably actually that's the material of the clothing, but it does look nice. It looks nice. When I think of the word bloom, I see upwards motion. This goes down, says Scott. Okay. I think upwards motion. This goes down. Does it? Time to bloom again. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're right. The design as a whole is kind of the swirls are sort of flowing through the design, and then you've got this sort of bit here, which is the bloom kind of coming down. Whereas I guess what you're saying is actually it's kind of swapping it around, so that this floral bit in the bottom left, that actually moves there and is then blooming upwards. Is that what you're saying? I wouldn't have even noticed that. God, you guys are on fire today. You are on fire. Floyda says, especially the O letters are suitable for the interweaving. Yeah, O's are great. O's are great. B's, A's, anything with kind of like a big enough sort of hole in the middle of it where you can kind of interweave things through. It adds a swoosh to the T. Yeah, that bit there. Gone. Quentin says a third colour would have helped the floral effects, a slightly different green. Yes, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think, what do we got here? We've got a black and a green. I think maybe something like this. I mean, I don't know where. Yeah, you probably have to pick where to put it. But I think it's probably a bit punchy. But you see what I mean? Like introducing a third lighter colour as an accent colour or something. Yeah, I think it probably would have helped, actually. I think because you got all the floral detail in black and the drop shadow in black, it's cool, but it does make it a lot harder to interlink things because, you know, as you try and interlink things, the black from the floral part of the design gets lost in the black of the drop shadow. So it does make that, it does kind of hinder that interlinking effect somewhat. Do you think this has been done using the new mock-up artwork tool in the AI beta? Cheers, Richard. If I had to guess, I'd say no. I don't think so. Just because it looks like it's kind of taken into account some shadows and we've got blur in certain places, and I'm not sure if that's... It feels a bit weird, actually. I'm not sure why this part of the design's blurred, because this part of the photograph doesn't look blurred. Like the texture here looks in focus and this part's blurred. I'm not sure, really. I don't know if they've updated it, but when they first launched the kind of mock-up feature in Illustrator, I don't know if it really accounted for like a lot of the, like you can see here, the shadows kind of blending through. I think it kind of gets the position of the mock-up correct, but it's nowhere near as realistic as a displacement map in Photoshop, for example. Maybe that's changed since they introduced it, but yeah, I think personally I would still go with displacement maps in Photoshop. But you know, hey, if we can quickly mock up stuff in Illustrator, then that's you know, it's just one more tool in the tool bag, right? The wide set kerning on Bloom throws me off. I'd tighten those letters a bit. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, the spacing here, just a wee bit wide. I think, yeah, actually saying that, I'd probably tighten the whole thing, the line spacing and the spacing between all of these letters as well. Semmer, I honestly don't know much about Microsoft Designer. Yeah, so I would love to give you a useful answer there as to what do you think about the good and bad sides for graphic designers. Is Microsoft Designer, is that their AI thing? I think someone sent me a link to it a while back, and I did have a look at it and go, oh, that's nice. That was about as far as I got, if it's what I think it is. Yeah, Floyda says there's some slightly blurred areas on the mock-up. Illustrator doesn't do that. Yeah, so it's got to be a displacement map. Right, boom. On to the next one. Ho-ho. Reese. It is time. Signal. This is cool. No, this is cool. First off, this is cool. Just because it looks cool. Secondly, I love this. Oh, why is it all pixely? I swear I opened that and didn't have the pixel issue. Shall I? Oh no, maybe I quick looked it. Hold up. I'll screenshot everything. It's a nifty way to get around previewing things. But yeah, if you've got any linked files, just embed them in there. Otherwise, it will show them up. But hey, it's fine. It's fine. We love a good problem here, and we can get around it. Boom, there we go. Oh, that's a good point. Monkey says, Ari, the colors. Remember adding a third screen printing color would be more expensive for a t-shirt. That is a very good point. There's me and other people just adding colors willy-nilly into the design, disregarding any cost. But yeah, so yeah, adding more colors does get more expensive, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know if it's the same. I'm not too familiar with screen printing. Is it the same that you can, like with a printing press, in that you could use tints of a color? So, another way we could get color into that t-shirt design screen printing is actually using tints of the same color, if that makes sense. That's what I used to do back in the day with Pantone colors and things. If someone wanted a 1-color print or a 2-color print, you just use tints of those specific colors, and it would give you kind of more to work with without putting up the cost. Very cool. Nice job, Reese. Yeah, you could screen back the green to give a lighter green. Okay, cool. Right, okay, let's read this. Branding, hand illustration to... This is so cool, I love this. This hand illustrated logo was for a local blues band that was in need of branding. After the initial conceptualization, the client came back asking for a monkey that was up to no good. You'll notice a Blues Brother type monkey as their logo, with a serif hand lettering font to accent the band's music style. The color scheme was created to match the band's name. I mean, I think it's fair to say that you absolutely nailed it. Conceptually, I think it looks absolutely brilliant. And I love this kind of, the way you've presented this as well is really fun. It's just got this really kind of hand-drawn sort of feel to it as well. Like that. That's cool. It's cool. And then what we got down here, BMB. Blue Monkey Band. That makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting to see. Works in one color as well. That's great for t-shirts, for merch, for badges, pins, all sorts of merchandise. Having that kind of the mark there, a color version here, which is cool. And this is what I love as well. The blues. You've got a really nice palette here of like 4 blues. And whoa, big brush. So we've got this one here on the background. This one here looks like a slightly off-white blue color that we've used for the monkey's skin. Blue beard. Very nice. And then dark blue. Oh no, 5. And then a tint of that blue, I guess, up there as well. So, yeah, is that 5? I think I can count. And then you've gone white on the cigarette and the smoke as well, just to make it stand out that little bit more. Yeah, more illustrative than my style. Like normally, if I were to design a logo like this, it would be a lot less illustrative, more structured, and probably a bit more regimented. This looks like a really cool illustration, and yeah, it's got like a sort of handcrafted feel to it, where you've got the kind of different thicknesses of the stroke, so thick and thin. Like, it's not something that I do. I'm usually much more like I say, not consistent, but regimented with where I use certain strokes and certain stroke weights. I don't really do designs that are sort of illustrative and kind of handcrafted like this. It's just it's not really my style. But I can appreciate it when other people do it. And I think in this instance, it's exactly the right approach for this type of project. And yeah, it does it really cool. It's got lots of character as well. Lots of character. Yeah, and you definitely nailed the kind of blues aspect as well. Sema says, very good color tones. Alok says, screen printing generally is for spot colors, though you can do amazing tints and shades with this too. Okay, cool. It's been a while since I've been involved in that kind of world. I've been designing digitally and then doing UI stuff for so many years now. I do miss the print side of things. Maybe the band should be hand lettered as well. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I kind of like it because then it draws emphasis on Blue Monkey. Yeah, I see what you mean. I think if you have all of it the same font, sometimes it's quite nice to kind of have that sort of juxtaposition between two fonts. And I think another little touch here is the band. It's like a much thinner, smaller font. And these little accents, these little illustrations here, they are also a similar width to the lettering here. So it does kind of create this sort of balance top and bottom. I think without those illustrations there that are kind of a similar weight to this, it might feel a bit random just having the word band on its own, but this does kind of tie it in together. And yeah, there's a really nice color palette as well. Yeah, it's really cool, man. I really like that. What was on the second page? Oh yeah, you got one with the hair as well. Yeah. So because it is more illustrative and a bit more kind of, I think, handcrafted, with this kind of work, I'm always less inclined to nitpick on, oh, this curve's not here and this curve here and that's a bit this and squared off there and not rounded here, because I think when you've got something that is kind of handcrafted or hand lettered, it's meant to have that, it's meant to have that more sort of, not rough around the edges sounds like a negative, but I mean it as a positive. It's meant to have that literally that handcrafted look. Every line isn't meant to be perfectly at a 60-degree angle and bloody blah. You know, it's a different kind of logo. It's much more illustrative. But yeah, that's absolutely banging, man. I love that one. You smashed it. Yeah, this took me out of my norm, but had a blast doing it. Oh, okay. So what's your normal design style then? Because that's interesting. And I think it's good when you get something like that as well. Because I've had that in the past as well, where a client has said, "Oh, I would like X, Y, and Z," and I'm thinking, "Oh, that's not really what I do." But actually, when you push yourself like that, you find that you're creative. You know a lot of the tools for the software. It might just take a lot longer to do something that is a different style to you. But if you research enough and practice enough, you can achieve something that is different to your normal style. It just might take a bit longer than normal. I tried to keep to simple marks and clean, but this was fun. And since I've actually done a few more mascot style logos as well. Oh, cool. That'd be really interesting to see them. That'd be really interesting to see. I think I've done 1 or 2 mascot logos in my career, but yeah, that's something that I don't really do either. Yeah, I'm normally like very kind of clean and simple. That's funny. Yeah, well, I mean, props to you then for doing something like this that is not your normal style. It must be nice as well, always going back to using pencils, actually sketching stuff out. I do so much stuff on the computer. It's, yeah, sometimes it's good to disconnect and go back to the classics, pencil and paper. Hello, Licks from Vietnam. Quentin, I used one of your tutorials for an effect on a magazine I recently worked on. I just got the physical copy today, and it looks so good. Thanks, Dan. Oh, you're welcome. I want to see it now, though. If there's any way you can send that to me, that'd be really cool to see. The monkey preferred cigarettes instead of bananas. This monkey is very troubled, my friend. Blues monkey's a bit stressed out. He needs a ciggy rather than a nana. Right. Anyway. Okay. What have we got? I'm working on a coffee company concept. I'll submit that once done. Yes, please do. Just submit it all. I want to see it. I love seeing other people's work. What time are we on? I haven't spilt the drink on the keyboard yet, so we're doing well. 4 o'clock, right. I need to set a timer because I've got to take... I've got my son with me today, and I've got to take him to football in about 30 minutes. So let's set a timer. Otherwise, I'm going to be late. Right. This looks cool. Okay, I don't think we've ever had anyone submit a board game before. Doodle Heist. Sounds a bit German, doesn't it? Doodle Heist, yeah? It does to me anyway. Crack the Code. Well, I've got no idea what this game is. But I love the mock-up. In fact, actually, I love everything about this. This is really cool. Even the mock-up, the way it bends around the corner. And I'm guessing this kink here is the fold around the corner. Oh, hey, we've got some Lorem Ipsum there. Da, 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 da. I found you. Oh, it's such a good mock-up. Come on, just take a few seconds to write a bit of blurb about this made-up game. I think it's deserving of a couple minutes of just nonsense copy, even if it is gibberish, because it looks really, really good. I mean, of course, typographically, again, another handcrafted font. We've got the eyes for the word doodle. They've got this cutout effect. It's wavy. It's fun, especially with these kind of rounded corners in the eyes. So clearly very targeted at children, younger people, ages 10 plus, nice and bold. It's simple. There's not too much on here. Yeah, I'm not sure how they created these, whether they're kind of 3D models or something, but they've applied just like a one-color wash to these 3D objects. And I think I did a tutorial on that, actually. You can do it in Adobe Dimension, if Dimension's even still around anymore. You can do it in Dimension. I think you add one color and then crank up the roughness. Or bring down the roughness. No, you bring down so you get these highlights. Something like that anyway. I can't remember. it can kind of give like, you can use it to get like a sort of, I want to say like a clay effect. But it basically means everything looks like this. So your shadows all have the base color in them. So they're purple, purple shadows, purple highlights, just everything becomes one color, you know? But yeah, you don't really see that kind of red and purple color combination very much. And normally I think, you know, red and purple, they wouldn't work particularly well, but because we have this massively thick white stroke around the edge, there is a color that bridges the gap between these two colors. Because if I were to, let's just get a shape. There we go. Nice shape. Oh, where's my properties gone? Yeah. They're not too bad, actually. I say that they're not too bad, but I don't think it would have anywhere near the kind of standout if you didn't have that white stroke. And that's a really good technique, actually, generally. If you do have two colors that traditionally don't work well together, bridge them with a white stroke, or maybe even a black stroke, or a different colored stroke. Something neutral that will work with both colors, because then actually you can kind of, you know, they might not work together normally, but it's kind of like if you have friends. You've got two friends, yeah? They don't like each other really, so they're not really friends, but then you bring along somebody else, and then they kind of both like that person, so they kind of work as a three. That's what the white is. The white is that other friend that comes along and just gets rid of all the awkwardness between the red and the purple. Does that make sense? I've got no idea. Well, it made sense to me. But again, yeah, we've got down here, don't know what font this is. That's not Comic Sans, is it? Might be Arial rounded or Helvetica rounded, something like that. But again, more rounded curves, rounded fonts are always a lot more playful. We've got the pen here, Doodleheist. I'm going to be saying that all day now. Right. And then we've got a brush. This looks like it was done in Illustrator. You can draw a normal path in Illustrator, and then you can apply a brush effect, and it's all vector. And I think I'm probably about to sneeze, actually. Nope, it's gone. Never mind. Crisis averted. But yeah, oh, and in terms of the mock-up as well, really nice. So I think this is what I was talking about. Light. Come on, let's thicken this up, Dan. Big, thick, chunky arrow. Too thick. There we go. Coming from the right. So the light is coming from here. We've got the shadow down here, which makes sense. The shadow over here. Right, look at the shadow. This is what I was talking about. Right, the shadow right by the product. Super thin down here. Super thin. It should not be blurry because that product is flush to the surface. It's darker at this point and it's much harder. And as you move this way, you'll see it gradually gets a lot more blurry and it becomes lighter. And that's how real shadows behave. And you can see here, this part of the shadow is so far behind the product, like it's away from the product. You can't even see where it meets the surface. It's just completely blurred out. Yeah, in fact, I think I did a video on this. I'm pretty sure I did a video on shadows in Photoshop not too long ago, within the last year or two, and I'm pretty sure I used tilt shift. Tilt shift is a great technique for realistic shadows, so check out that video because I think it does have the tilt shift. It's got 3 techniques, and I'm pretty sure one of them is tilt shift, and that's how you can kind of gradually blur a shadow as you go along. But yeah, super realistic, and then we've got the reflection as well in the shadow and in the surface. The surface is like a nice glass kind of color. So as far as mock-ups go, you know, this is absolutely spot on. As far as packaging design goes, it's really, really good. Simple, clean, minimal, fun. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Right, what do you guys think? God, I got really carried away with that then. I'm really passionate about Doodleheist. Yep, they are 3D models, says Floyda. Did you know about the new Illustrator update? They've done a few this year. I think I've got the latest one, but I think I do need to sit down with a cup of tea and just go through everything they've updated. They've done lots of little incremental ones this year, haven't they? I feel like more so than normal. Normally they kind of wait till Adobe Max and then they kind of just drop a bunch of big things. But no, they've actually added some new features gradually this year. Purple keeps its harmony with every color, but it is most perfect in harmony with purple, green, or yellow. I mean, yeah, purple and yellow is always a good one. Sorry, my brother's calling me. I'm just texting him. I'm streaming. Okay, cool. Katana video. Did I miss something? Oh, I think I might have done a katana video. Thanks for the review, Dan. Much obliged. Oh, was this yours? Was this your one, Floyda? You're live at Invato Tuts. Oh, it was. Amazing. Well, Floyda. Cracking job, mate. Absolutely love it. You're live at Invato Tuts. Invato. Do you mean Tuts Plus? Oh no, I am. Invato, what are you doing? Okay. Yeah. We've clashed. Okay, so actually this is actually really cool. So I don't teach loads and loads of UI stuff anymore, and I don't teach Figma on the channel, but I've created it's about an hour and a half course with Invato Tuts Plus. I'm one of their instructors basically, and I create content with Invato Tuts Plus. And I did a 90-minute course recently where I designed an entire homepage from a wireframe in Figma. So if you like Figma and you want to see me teach some Figma in terms of UI and homepage design, let me just throw this in the chat. Well done for pointing that out. That's so funny. It's live at the same time. I was like, what? Yeah, so that's a homepage design in Figma. It's like a 90-minute video. So you see the entire process from wireframe to finished, polished, and even animated homepage design, all in the space of 90 minutes. So yeah, definitely check it out. Like the video, share it, comment, just say how amazing it is, because then Tuts Plus will hopefully want to work with me again. It just makes me look better. Oh, that's funny. Hello, John. Afternoon, Mr. D. It's too mellow for a game. It needs to be exciting, in my opinion. Too mellow. We need a bit more excitement, eh? Right. In two places at once. Are you an AI? No, I am definitely not an AI. I am a ginger human being. I can guarantee you that. Right, Quinton, you're up. Whoa, we've got some ands. Okay, we'll ignore all the missing fonts. Okay, so we have lots of versions. For anyone who joined the stream many moons ago, this might look familiar. We tried to combine the words fire and ice, which I think was actually a design submitted by somebody else. And oh no, yes. Oh yes. And I did do a version of this that I don't think I've actually showed you yet. I spent quite a lot of time trying to work this together, and Quinton's done a bunch here, and we're going to go through them. I think some have more potential than others, but we'll start all the way at the beginning. So, yeah, fire and ice. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because there's a few. So I'm not crazy about the font, but I like the way that you've tried to interconnect the words. It kind of feels like it is like a contained unit, like a box, if you like. You know, you've got this bottom part of the R, kind of this little bit flicking into the E, and that lines up, which I do like. The I and the R, I don't know if I feel like maybe the R's being stretched a bit too much there. It's got the flick and this bit here. I don't know if that's a bit too much. Maybe I would have brought the F over instead of the R, but maybe then that would make the F look a bit weird. Yeah, interesting. You've bridged both of them with the E, which I don't think really works here, but I think it does work in some other ones that you've done that we'll get to in a minute. Bring on the red pen. Right, let's get the red out. Figma. No, Kai, we don't talk about Figma. I can't even remember what Figma is. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the old streams, I think. Yes, I've not refined these, just playing with the concept. Oh, that's absolutely fine. No worries there. This is kind of what I do as well when I'm trying to find ways to connect words and things together, is I just, you know, draft up these concepts to see if I can actually, to see if they've got any legs, basically. Is there potential here? Do I need to spend 2 hours or 3 hours? Do I invest that time in fleshing out this concept, or is it a waste of time? So doing these rough drafts is a great way to kind of look at them and go, yeah, this one here is good. This one here, nah, I'll scrap this one, you know? So I quite like this one. I like this one. I think obviously the font and everything needs refining. I don't love this ampersand here, and this kind of, it's going up on an angle. I don't like that. I think the isometric style angle is very kind of front and center, so I would probably keep that at the same kind of angle. But the way you've linked the I and the E and everything, it works really well. In fact, I feel like if the font was a bit more like a Bebas, let's just quickly, doesn't have to be Bebas, but just a, whoa, what are you doing, Dan? Just a similar font. So you see here the C is quite curvy. If it was a bit more like this with a lot of kind of straight lines, I feel like that would kind of flow from the R just a little bit more. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, you got the fonts as well. That's handy. Number 3. Okay, same again, but on the other side. I mean, potato. I think I'd probably go with the, I don't know which one I go with, actually. Oh, that is a quandary right there. This one is interesting. What font is this? I'm guessing Dimension 700R. Yeah, that font. I like that. That is a really interesting font. And I think actually it lends itself very well. This font here actually does a lot. It does what I was just talking about with Bebas even more. You've still got the rounded curves, so it's clearly a C, but there's so much of this shape in common with the R that even with those rounded curves, everything lines up nicely. The only thing I don't like is this swooshy font. Just get rid of it and bring that down. And I know there's a gap there. I don't know how we close that gap. I don't have a solution. I don't know. But do we even need to close the gap? I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. But I like this font. I'm sorry, Samantha. I don't like the other font, if I'm being honest. There should be something in the bottom left corner. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can't really get the ampersand in there. Or a plus, maybe? Could you get a plus in there and try and link it with the F? Something like that. fire and ice. So instead of, the problem with the ampersand is this kind of funny is depending on the font you get, it can be a bit weird and wonderful. Some fonts do have quite a nice one, some have a really weird one. But I can guarantee you pretty much most of the time, if you're using a font like this where everything lines up and it's nice and everything works, your ampersand is just not going to fit that mold because it's got straight bits, it's got curves, it's depending on the font, you know, it's got angles. It looks so vastly different depending on the font compared to other letters. Now look at that. What is that? Or that? The actual form of an ampersand changes so vastly, whereas this is just a squiggle. Whereas so many other letters, you know, like a C or an E in a capital will look relatively similar, but some fonts just yeah. So if you can get an ampersand that will fit in there, you're very lucky. But anyway, yeah, same again. I mean, I prefer this one's a bit better, but I'm not really feeling the curly swirly font, if I'm honest. Okay, so yeah, this is a bit more. So you see what I mean? It's difficult, isn't it? And the problem with an ampersand as well is you've got lots of detail. You've got curves and things. You know, like you can do that with a C, but I mean, how are you going to create all these other characteristics of an ampersand symbol with such a chunky font like this? I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I've not got that font installed to see what an ampersand looks like in that typeface, but I was struggling with the isometric and lining things up. I need more practice. I was as well. If I'm being totally honest, I was struggling with that as well. I did a lot of isometric versions, and I mocked a whole bunch of stuff up, and there were some bits that like, oh yeah, this lines up, the I and the C and the E line up, and the F doesn't, and then, or just like loads of stuff would work, but then the other part of it wouldn't, and it was just really frustrating. Right, let me get rid of that. Reese says, I like that font too. Dimension 700R is great and works so well here. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. It's a great font if you've got, depending on the words obviously, if you wanted to interlink words together. And I like fonts like this that stack. I like the fonts that stack, just like boom, 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 boom. What is it? It's called, very similar to like a mono-spaced font where the spacing, the width of the characters is consistent. The fire and the ice cube could be melting. Lol. I did try some melting versions on mine as well, and it was yeah, questionable. I wanted the ampersand to stand out a bit. Yeah, I think I mean I don't like that one. I really don't like that one. I would pick that one definitely because it really does kind of have it's quite different. It's like so different. I feel like this one might be growing. I think it's growing on me a little bit, this one. Right, let's go on to the next one. Oh, I see what you've done here. So you've got double E. Oh, this one uses the I and the E. Interesting. I think it becomes much harder to read. I think that one there, we know it says fire and ice. I think it probably, especially as it's not exuding any physical characteristics of fire and ice, I think it does become a bit of a, you know, we know what it means. We're in the kind of, we're in the know, we're in the club. Someone else on the outside wouldn't necessarily know, but okay, going back to some different fonts. Yeah, even then, that font, that's a font I'd never really pick, but I feel like this one here, when the font is quite a similar style but just a thinner weight, I don't think it's working. But when you pick something that is so totally different, it's like all floral or swooshy, I think actually that works better because there is such a difference between the font. There's like a nice contrast, totally different styles, big black blocky font, very bold, and then you've got something more elegant and thin. I think actually that contrast kind of works a lot more, whereas this kind of feels like, I don't know, it doesn't feel right, you know? Yeah, this is interesting. All the same weight. Maybe. Oh. I think it probably needs a bit more refinement. Can I play with it? Can I play with it? There we go. Let's nudge you up. Can I scooch you in there? Ooh, I don't know. Yes, that ampersand's a difficult one. Do you know what I would do? If you wanted to carry on with ideas, I would try a plus. I really would try a plus. Because what we're trying to do, combining fire and ice, is already pretty tough and pretty complicated to get it looking like good. It's tough, like you said, getting the angles lined up, getting things looking good. It's tough, and I think ampersands can be a real pain in the arse. They can work, but actually sometimes just going with a, you know, if you've got an ampersand or a plus, it's another way that you can represent and it's so much simpler to implement as well. And I think you could probably, I don't know what I need to look at this font, but I think the Dimension 700R font might have a pretty similar plus sign with the same kind of width. Whereas I need to see what the ampersand looks like. Maybe putting an and in Dimension font. Oh, yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah, plus ampersand and actually writing the word and could work. Or just to throw... Whoa, where have I gone? Just to throw another idea out there and complicate things even more, what you can sometimes do is have like an N and an apostrophe. So fire and ice. Again, you got an apostrophe to deal with then as well, you know. But just another one. So yeah, we've got ampersand, plus, and an N. So these are all different ways that we could represent and I don't know, it might be worth playing around with them, you know, before we rule anything out. And then of course with the word and, you could try uppercase, lowercase. But yeah. Hopefully that's helpful anyway. But thank you for sending that in. It was really interesting to see so many different ideas. Oh, it's an Adobe font. Oh, okay. I'm definitely downloading Dimension 700R. Quentin says what does Quentin say? The ampersand originates from contracting the French and eh. Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know that. J'ai joué au foot. Oh, wait, no, that's I play football in French. We're going back like 20 years to school now. My French is terrible. Un fromage. Comment tu t'appelles? J'habite à Bristol. Hey, j'habite à Bristol. I don't know what that accent was meant to be. Anyway, the thick font probably has an appropriate ampersand, but then you'd just be typing it out, I guess. Well, I mean, hey Mark, if it has a decent ampersand that fits with everything, I would take that, yeah. If it does, I would take that font and then maybe flip it round, so have the and kind of outlined. Something like this to kind of separate it out. That would look pretty cool, but I've got no idea what that font is. Am I logged into Adobe Fonts? Let's have a look. Sign in. I might be able to just enter your email. Blah, 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 blah. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can I've got to go in a minute, but let's just see if I can quickly grab this font. Fonty McFonty font. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, I'm back tomorrow as well. For Dansky Live. Just by the way, FYI. Where are we, Dansky? I think we're going to do some generative fill in Photoshop. I've been keeping an eye on the AI stuff, and I think generative fill would be a lot of fun to do. I've had very successful results with it, or terribly bad results. But either way, I've had a lot of fun with it. So, I think we might do that tomorrow. Right, search for a font. Dimension 700. Ooh, there we go. Add a family. Okay. All right. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you've got. What is it? Fire and ice. Scale it up. Ooh, there's loads. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like the thinner one. Oh, that is cool. I am going to be using that. Thank you very much, Quentin. 700R. There you are. Oh, nice rhyme. Oh, look at that. Oh, yes. Oh, well, there we go. Wow, that's amazing. I was thinking, how on earth are they going to get an ampersand fitting with all that kind of detail in that small space? And there you go. I mean, I don't know what you think. Does it feel lazy doing that? Does it feel like cheating? I mean, I think it's the best. I think it is the best example. Best example? What am I saying? The best. I think it works. I think that is the best solution. I know it'd be nice to kind of do something custom. I'll probably obviously close that gap up. Yeah, I mean you could change the color, you could play around with the styling of that. I think the fact it's got an ampersand and the fact it obviously closed this gap up and everything, but I think the fact it kind of fits with the other letters. And then of course if you want to like join the eyes, or you could try and connect these. Huh, I mean that could be it. What do you guys think? maybe that's all it needs. I'm surprised. It's got a pretty decent ampersand. I knocked up another version while you've been reviewing. Nick and Kicks use an ampersand in their logo. Take a look. They've done it so well. Nick and Kicks. Okay. So again, Nick and... Oh, wow. Look at that. Damn, that is a nice logo. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. Wow. I mean, I love that. Yeah, ampersands, they can be a real pain to get in a logo. That Reese says that is legit. I know, right? That's it. That, yeah. Whew. I mean, that yeah. Love it. Great use of negative space as well, but still maintains the integrity of all the letters. And then the swoosh there is the eye. Oh, that is some S tier logo design right there. Love that. Oh yeah. Thank you for that suggestion. Boomtasticafaction. Yeah, that was a great suggestion. Thank you. Nice. Oh, I'm feeling inspired now. Yeah, show them to us tomorrow. That Dimension 700 sounded like a radio jingle. Dimension 700. A vacuum cleaner. It looks great. It does feel like cheating. I know, it does feel like cheating. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I get that. Let's go back to the text. What's their plus like? Oh, it doesn't really have a plus. Well, I mean, it has a plus, but it's a pretty awful plus. They got numbers and things, but their mathematical symbols are a bit rubbish. So yeah, maybe a chunky plus instead. A plus could work quite well actually if you continue the F, or have it like slightly separate. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing sometimes, you know. Yeah, it probably does feel like cheating, but actually, I think, you know, if it's the best solution, it's the best solution. You know, I've knocked up designs before for clients in half an hour, and it kind of feels like, I don't know, it felt, I remember at the time it felt like a bit wrong. Like, really? Oh, wow, I've done that quick. Is this legit? Like, but yeah, sometimes you just, boom. You know, it just happens. It comes together. And I think being able to recognize that is the most sort of potentially the most appropriate kind of thing to do. That's part of it, I think. I got another version if you have time for me to send it. I don't have time now. I really do have to shoot off in a minute because I'm late to drop my son off at where am I taking him? Football. But if you want to shoot it over to hello@dansky.com, Quinton, I'd love to see it. That'd be really, really cool. Oh my God, L&K. Yeah, I know, right? Holy moly, that is good. Mark says, nice. Got to run, fam. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks for reviewing, Nigel Dansky. Amazing. Thanks, Reese. Catch you later, man. Have a good day. Right block of the ampersand may be morphed into a flame. Yeah, we could do something there. I mean, what you could do is you could keep the fire and the ice text pretty simple, and I know it feels like cheating, but keep it kind of simple, but then actually integrate the fire or the flame or the drip effect or something else that is... so keep the font pretty simple, but then integrate the characteristics of fire and ice into the logo itself. That might be quite a cool way to kind of make it a bit more custom and feel less like cheating as well. Amazing. Yeah, send that over and I'll have a gander. Right, guys, I've got to go. I've got to take my son to football. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you to everyone who submitted designs for review. We've got lots more that I'm going to be reviewing in the coming weeks, and tomorrow at I think 3 p.m. I will post on the community on the channel later on. But yeah, we'll do another stream tomorrow. We're gonna quite possibly jump into some Photoshop and do some generative AI, which will be hilarious. Guys, you've been absolutely fantastic. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.